going to be sharing an end of the year complete review on what we used for our family subjects, which includes history, Bible, science, and a couple other things that we added in. And normally I do I will sit here and like hold up what I used and then maybe add some B-roll and like which will show me flipping through so that you can get an idea. But I'm going to change it up a little bit. As you can see behind me, my dining table is completely full of curriculum. I actually just filmed it and I was like sweating by the time I finished filming this. So we got a lot to get into, and so I'm going to turn the camera around. That way you can get a good complete picture of like everything we used, and you can see it all together. Here is everything we've used this year for morning time. So I am just going to go through, I guess I'll start over here with science. So for science, we used a mix of, let me zoom out a little bit. We used a mix of the Good and the Beautiful science units and Sonlight Science C. And so I did not get to all of these. We got to most of it, but we did not get to all of it. So first I'll just show, I'll go briefly through this because I've already done a whole video on Sonlight Science C, but this is going to be covering forces and interactions, life systems and cycles, weather and climate, and engineering design. So this is what the teacher guide is going to look like. So it's going to give you an example of what week you were on. It is going to tell you what book you will be doing, and I'll show the books in just a minute, what science experiment you will be doing. I chose the 5-day, so you can choose 4-day or 5-day. 4-day would just have this. The 5th day, the only extra thing is this book called The Story of Inventions. So that's just the extra, that's the 5th day. And then do together. This isn't really like an experiment. It's just kind of like it's just more like a hands-on activity. These are the supplies so we provide. So highly recommend, if you're going to do this, get this science supplies kit. It comes with like everything that you need in it. And so it's just nice to have for all those random things. And then you provide, and then, you know, something that you might want to shop for. And then kind of will just give you this is kind of to the parents. Sometimes you can use this as a discussion. So it looks like this one is talking about the baleen whale. So I would probably just read this out loud to my kids. Not every day is going to have parent notes, but sometimes this does. And then again, this is just, so the Story of Inventions, this is going to have a note to the parents as well. And then the do together activity, this is an interview with a dolphin. And then here is the answer key for the sheets. Here are the worksheets for this, and you're only going to be doing a couple questions every single day. And they're nice and in color. They make you think. They're not all multiple choice. Some is short answer. So we liked the worksheets. The only thing I would say is if you have multiple children, have a plan for these worksheets, because if you just buy it, it only comes with one set of worksheets. So I found myself like having to make copies and things like that. And so I kind of wish I had just either gotten a whole extra set or made copies all up front. At the beginning of the year, it was kind of like I was kind of scrambling. So that would be my recommendation. And then that would be a whole week. So like I said, I have a whole video on this. That's as far in detail as I'm going to get into today. The spine of this is, did you know science? So it's just, you're really going to be reading a couple pages a day. What we liked is the true or false. There was questions, there was little quizzes afterwards. Some of it is, from the reading, and then some of it they just want to see if you know the answer for fun. So we liked that. Here is the 3rd grade experiments. This is exactly what they look like. Guiding you through week by week. There's 36 in here, and so week by week you do different experiments. This is what I was saying is the Story of Inventions, and so it just goes through and talks about different inventions. Okay, and then we have, let's see, okay, so these are what Sonlight came with. So we have here what makes a magnet. We have Electrical Wizard, Nikola Tesla, robots, traits and attributes. Now I will say for this one was a little bit above, I don't know. My children didn't really love this one. It was interesting. It was just a little bit hard for them to follow. I felt like it kind of just jumped in a little bit. And especially if you have no prior knowledge. So I knew kind of how to break it down to explain it to them, but they had no clue. They had never been exposed to this before. So they were like, what? Like, it was hard for them to figure out, or it was hard for them to kind of follow along, like alleles and genetics and DNA and all of that, which I get. It's pretty abstract, so I understand. This is Bringing Back the Wolves, How a Predator Restores an Ecosystem. So I like that there's just a different variety of books that Sonlight comes with. Weather, just kind of one of those DK type Usborne books. First Encyclopedia of Seas and Ocean. So those were from Sonlight. All of this so far is just Sonlight. And then Fossils Tell of Long Ago. Now, keep in mind, although Sonlight is Christian, they do use secular resources. So this is going to be a secular resource. It's like an old earth, and then I'll explain that in a minute. We have paleontology over there. And then the Magic School Bus and the Electric Field Trip. These are extra books that I added. So this is Inside Your Outside, all about the human body. Then we have a book about your skeleton. So when we did the human body unit, I added this and this. Inside Ralphie, a book about germs. We also watched a couple of the Magic School Bus shows as well as they corresponded. In the Haunted Museum, a book about sound. I'm not going to go through all these. You know what Magic School Bus is. All right, Magic School Bus Gets a Bright Idea, a book about light. And this is literally my book from when I was a kid. I remember reading this one. So Inside the Human Body. I kind of made the base, the good and the beautiful, and we kind of interwove them. So with talking about like wolves and predators and fossils and things like that, we did paleontology. So this was done really well. My girls liked this. It doesn't go into like extreme depth, but I think we still learned a good amount. So this is the unit, and then there are student journals. This is grades 7 and 8. So the only difference between the grades 3 through 6 and 7 to 8 is that, let's see, they have an extension here. So she would read about this and then describe in 3 or more sentences how LiDAR technology is improved, blah, blah, blah. So that's what she would do. Since she's only in 6th grade, I didn't have her do these essays. I did have her read them. But otherwise, the books are pretty identical. There might be a couple things different that's a little bit easier in the 3rd to 6th, but overall, they're pretty identical. So we enjoyed this unit. It's not from like a young Earth or old Earth perspective. If I can remember, it is from a Christian perspective. So they let you decide how you want to approach that. And then we had the Berenstain Bears Dinosaur Dig. I added that one. And then the rest of these are from masterbooks. This is When Dragons' Hearts Were Good. So I tried to get, a variety of ages. My kids are 2nd to 6th grade. So I tried not to make everything, one end of the spectrum or another. I tried to get variety. So this was good for the younger kids, but my older kids liked it too. All right, Dinosaurs, Ken Ham. So we spent quite a bit of time doing the paleontology unit. So again, this is from masterbooks. So this is going to be a creationist, young Earth perspective. I don't think we finished this one. I'm not going to lie. I don't think we finished this one. Which one of these we didn't finish. We started it, but we didn't, because it was nearing Christmas time, and I think we were just like, okay, we're done with paleontology. So we did not finish all of them. And then Dragons. This is the coolest book ever. Like, it is so cool. So it's not only are like the pictures really cool, it has all these little things. So legends from around the globe. So it has these little, like you pick it up and you can read it. So they got to take turns reading about that. And then like this opened up. So they got to read all about different legends, eyewitness accounts. So it's like a little booklet in here within the booklet. This was just like the coolest book. And again, this is masterbooks. So it's all creation, young earth perspective. So if that's not your thing, this will not be your thing. But if you are looking for resources like that, then here's a couple. Yeah, just really, really cool. Done really well. My girls are not like the biggest dragon and dinosaur enthusiasts in the world, but if you have kids that are, those books would be great. And then the paleontology unit, definitely recommend. Okay, and then we have, again, from The Good and the Beautiful, Health in the Physical Body. I loved this one. I'm a dietitian, so I'm all about like anatomy and physiology and learning about that. So I thought this was my favorite unit to do. So it's the digestive system, nutrition. They even had a focus on a dietitian as one of the extensions for the 7th and 8th grade, which I thought was so fun. So this is what it's going to be discussing. And I think it's pretty age appropriate. It talks about, you know, the body, but it doesn't go into too much depth. And it doesn't go, you know, it doesn't just gloss over it either. I feel like it does a pretty good job considering the age ranges. And then this is like what the student journal would look like. So that was health in the physical body. And then we got the story of a cold to go along with it. This is the optional book pack. You can get it or not. This is pretty good. 50 amazing facts about bones. I don't know if I'd get it again. Some of the information was repetitive. It was still good though, but some of the books sometimes are like hit or miss for me, some of the extension books. And then we are not finished with this one yet. I think I'm gonna finish it in the summer. Actually, I will. This is Health in the Human Mind. This is 12 lessons, so it's gonna just pick up the brain, eyes and vision, ears and hearing, so you can see all what it does. I would highly recommend doing these both together. That way, because you're already kind of in that mindset of the physical body, and so hearing and mouth and taste, that's still part of the body. So I would recommend doing these together so you can kind of see how this is. They're all pretty much laid out similarly. Okay, and then it comes with the amazing thing called memory. This one was pretty good. We like this one. These books they look short, but because there's so much information, I don't know about you, but I break these up into multiple days just because I can't do a lesson and these books together. It takes a long time. And then we did not get to A Penny for Your Thoughts, but I really want to. This is about like perfectionism, overthinking, low self-esteem, and pressure to please others. Tilly experiences all these thoughts during her first day at choir camp. She wonders if she should even go to camp at all. With the help of her mom, she decides to make some goals she can work through. Blah, blah, blah. So it's like anxiety. I don't think, again, I have not read it. I don't think it's like major mental illness or anything. I think it's just what an average, typical day-to-day type of struggle would be. So I think it's just showing kids, they're not alone, and everybody else goes through this and struggles with this from time to time. So again, I've heard really good things about this. And then here are the journals. So this is science. I think overall, it was a good year. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more to the sonlight. And I think over the summer, whatever we didn't get to, I think I'm just going to kind of try to read alouds and not worry about worksheets and all that, and just kind of discuss it. And then we will leave it at that. I'll kind of leave the rest of the experiments that we have not done up to my girls' discretion. They've liked to do a couple of them, and they do pretty well at doing them on their own. They're not always successful, but for the most part, they don't do half bad. Okay, so now we're going to go to history, which is quite a doozy. We ended up doing Beautiful Feet books, Early American History. This is for the primary grades. So this is the picture book version. Now, again, I have done an entire flip through and overview of this, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail. If you are really interested, you'll get to see a good glimpse of it. But if you want to know more, I'll link that video below too. So this is just going to cover the time frames of the Vikings, indigenous people, Golden Age of Discovery, colonies, Revolutionary War, Young United States, and Civil War. So we right now are ending the year here at the Young United States. We could have finished, but I took a break after the Revolutionary War to do a government unit for a couple weeks. So that kind of put us behind. And so anyway, but that's okay. We're going to work on it over the summer, and I'm not stressed about it, or, you know, it's totally fine. These are all the books that it comes with, and I'll be sharing them too. So if you can't see these little teeny tiny books, that's okay. So I love Beautiful Feet books. This is the teacher guide. You definitely need this. I get asked all the time about certain things that I share. Some things you need teacher guides for, some things you don't. Sonlight Science, 100% you need the teacher guide. This, you need the teacher guide. I would highly recommend it. It always adds rabbit trails. So these are recommended books that are not part of it, but they're like, hey, if you want to, you know, enrich or go deeper into your search, here's some recommendations. And then they always have some good YouTube videos as well. So for starting off with the Vikings, we did Leif the Lucky. This is by Dallaire. I'm not going to go through all these and do flip throughs. Like I said, I've done a whole video on that. So if you want to look what's inside of all of these, that's fine. Leif the Lucky. And then we also did, what else do we do? I made a Google Docs of breaking down all the lessons and all the rabbit trails and picture books and chapter books that I wanted to add. So if you want to know if you're interested in this, I'll leave the link. So again, this is just like a breakdown of what lessons I wanted to do, and like these Viking videos, we did those on YouTube and they were recommended in here. So that's where I got the information from. And then I also added some Sonlight readers too that I'll get to in just a couple minutes. So we did Leif the Lucky for this one. We watched Beowulf. I did not get a chance to read it. And then we also did A Child's Introduction to Norse Mythology. My daughter really, really liked that one. That's like Thor and all those gods, you know, like all the Marvel characters. She thought that was really interesting. That was mostly what we did for that unit. And as you can see, there's like pictures and things along with it. There's always a historic table. So they're making whatever that is, some sort of Norwegian cake. I feel like the worst mom ever. I don't do these with my kids. Honestly, sometimes we forget, like most of the time we forget about it. And I feel bad. We don't always do this. I want to. The indigenous peoples of North America. So we read all of these. These are just extra picture books. I checked them out from the library, except these two. I happen to have these two. And so, yeah, so I read those. And then we also went on all these online resources and watched just a bunch of like the YouTube videos they link are not very long at all. They're like 3 to 5 minutes. They're not too long. And then we went to the Golden Age of Discovery. It has a little timeline there. We did, let's see, Columbus. We also read Encounter. We read The Discovery of Americas. And then I did not read any of these extra ones. We were a little bit busy at this time, so I did not get as many extras in this unit. It was just a really, really busy season. Okay, and then there's the historic table. Then we are on the colonies. So some of these rabbit trails, we did People of the Breaking Day. There's a bunch of pilgrims. We didn't really do that. I feel like we learned enough about them. We read People of the Breaking Day. Beware, there's like some, I mean, I don't want to say nudity, but kind of like, just if you get it, just look through it first. I'll just say that. And then we read Tick-Tock Banneker's Clock. I thought this was interesting because this is more like of the time of Thomas Jefferson. And so I thought this is kind of a random draw, but a random choice. So we read that one. We actually did not get to this one. I own this one. This was a recommendation. We did not get to that one. We did Jamestown, or Squanto's Journey. I'm looking at Jamestown here. My brain saw that. Squanto's Journey, Jamestown. This again, these came with the Beautiful Feet books, picture packet, Pocahontas, Pilgrim's Stories. This is the chapter book. We liked this one. It just like gives much more detail about the Pilgrims than just they came over on the Mayflower from England. Like there's a whole bunch more. So we liked this one. The Courage of Sarah Noble. We also read The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. It's like the boy version of this. It's by the same author. And although it's a chapter book, that goes by really quick. So we added The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. Then we read Benjamin Franklin. So those were part of colonial times. Then we also added A Lion to Guard Us. We listened to that on audio. It's about children who came over to Jamestown. Their mom died and they came from England looking for their dad who was in Jamestown. So that one, they all liked that one. We read The Secret of the Sealed Room. This is a kind of a mystery with it's a fiction, but it's a young Ben Franklin. 2 of the 3 of my kids liked it. I liked it. 1 did not love it. We listened to The Witch of Blackbird Pond. Again, 2 of the 3 liked it. 1 did not. I liked it. It was a little slow moving. I know it's a classic and everybody recommends it. It was a little slow moving, but I liked it overall. My older 2 daughters, my 4th grader and 6th grader, read Ben and Me. And then we watched the Disney version of that. And then we also we watched The Sign of the Beaver. We did not get a chance to read it, but we watched it. It was a movie made like in the early 90s. So we watched that one. And then we read the You Wouldn't Want To series. They loved that. They want to get all the books. So we read You Wouldn't Want to Be a Salem Witch, You Wouldn't Want to Be an American Colonist, and You Wouldn't Want to Be Sick in the, I think, 16th century. So they all, like I said, they loved those ones, and definitely recommend. Now we're getting into the Revolutionary War era. The extras that we read were Ben and Me, Katie's Trunk, we listened to that one. Young John Quincy, we read that one. We read A Spy Called James. We read A Voice of Her Own, Phyllis Wheatley, and Black Heroes of the American Revolution. Overall, we really liked the editions that we read. I have a couple more that I'll share in just a second. But these are the books that came in the picture packet. George Washington, Phoebe the Spy, loved this one. This one was a favorite. Her dad was a free black man who owned a restaurant, a tavern in New York that's actually still today, and she had to be a spy, and she ended up saving George Washington's life. This is not fiction. This actually happened. Highly recommend this one. The Winter at Valley Forge. I added this one, and then What Happened Paul Revere, we just had this one, so I added that one. The 4th of July Story, A More Perfect Union. And I think that was it for this unit. Yes, and then we added the online resources as well. And then some ones that we added were The Cabin Faced West. I added Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. Me and my older daughter Larissa read that one together. Or we read it, we took turns reading it. That was post-Revolutionary War. Me and my older one read Johnny Tremaine. That one was really good. And then we watched the Disney version of that. It's from like the 50s. And then we listened to Tolliver's Secret. And again, if you're like, where are you randomly getting these books from? These are from the Sonlight History D. I took all of their recommendations and just picked and chose a few that I thought would that we would be interested in. And then that is the end of the Revolutionary War. We spent quite a long time on that one. And then lastly, we are at the Young United States. Now, I have actually picked up all of these from our library. So this is the Star Spangled Banner. We are learning about the War of 1812. Yoni Waternoose and Henner's Lydia. These are like not pilgrims, what's the word, Amish people in around this time. The Boy Who Drew Birds, this is John Audubon. We read that one. So it was interesting to hear like all these people that you hear of that you're like, oh, they lived during this time. And so it kind of just connects it all. So I really like how they did that. Henry David's House, this is Henry David Thoreau. The Tale of Johnny Appleseed, The Daring Escape of Ellen Craft. This one is a light-skinned slave, and she poses as a white man to escape slavery. So I want to read that one. We have that one, just haven't gotten to it yet. And then we have So Tall Within. This is Sojourner Truth. So I'm excited to read these. We have not gotten to that part yet. This is where we are ending the school year. We have read so far Dear Benjamin Banneker, The Year of the Horseless Carriage, 1801. This one was a little bit, in a way it was all over the place, but in a way it kind of tied a lot of things together. It's talking about Napoleon and Samuel Clement, and it's just, there's a lot of people. My girls were kind of finding it hard to keep up with this one, but I just had to keep reminding them and reviewing them, that we read the picture book of Sacagawea. We will be reading Sarah Plain and Tall. I just picked this one up. It came in a book lot that I bought online. So I guess we'll read this one. And then we haven't gotten to these yet. So the last of it will be The Hannah, Crossing Bachito, Moses. And then when we get to the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln. And then this is ours. I'm going to add this one in, Henry's Freedom Box, Buffalo Bill. So again, we have not gotten to that part yet. We're still in this era. So right now we are finishing, we are reading The White House is Burning. And so this one's a little bit, it's about the War of 1812 too. It is a little bit slow moving too, but we're just going to kind of power through it. And then we will read Amistad, Story of a Slave Ship, Davy Crockett. Then we'll watch the movie Justin Morgan Had a Horse. So lots of books. We're taking our time reading this. This is why it's taken us like a year to get through, or over a year to get through. But I just want to make sure that we're covering a lot of ground. And then it will end with the Civil War. And I showed you those books as well. I'm not sure. These are the rabbit trails. I'm not sure how much of this we'll get to, only because when we pick up next year with Sonlight Science E, it's going to start off with the Civil War. So we probably will just read these ones, probably won't do the rabbit trails of here, and just go right into Sonlight History E. All right, and then lastly, I'm just going to go through these quickly because I feel like I've talked about a lot of these before, and so I don't want to just keep repeating myself. This one's kind of new. Bible questions and answers for kids. We're just going through how could I forgive someone when I keep remembering what they do. So it's just like a one little page. It takes just a couple minutes, but you can obviously have more discussion on this, and sometimes we do. Sometimes this leads into further discussion. So we have that one. Indescribable, I've shared this one before. It's Devotions About God and Science. So we would just read a page of that a day or something. We put this down during the school year, but we picked it back up towards the end of the school year because we have finished up other subjects. So we added that one, Where the Sidewalk Ends. The girls really liked this one. This one's, I feel like it's been around forever. So this one, you definitely need the actual book because the pictures like describe the poem. I would not recommend like listening to this one. You need the actual book to look at the pictures. One Blood for Kids, What the Bible Says About Race. But this is by Ken Ham in Masterbooks. This is done really well. This is from a biblical perspective, how we are all created from Adam, and then from there we all came from Noah and his family. Let me see. This is showing it. What skin tone were Adam and Eve? So just how Adam and Eve could have had children with a variety of different skin tones, which we see today still all the time. So it does do a really good job. I will say, if you have kids who are familiar with the gospel, it does repeat the story of Jesus and salvation and it's not a bad thing, but it repeats it quite a bit. And so my kids were like, okay, we already know this. And so that part does get repetitive, but like this aspect, like the side effects of evolution and that type of thing, is really fascinating. Interracial marriage, celebrating a culture of worlds. So I liked it. I thought it did a good job. So if you are interested in that, I would recommend it. And then we have from Apologia, Who Am I and What Am I Doing Here? Biblical Worldview of Self-Image. This was really good. My girls really, really loved it. So there's 8 chapters. I'll just go through what a sample chapter is so you can get an idea. There is there's a workbook that goes with this, but I never do them. We just read it and discuss it. So it's always going to start with the big idea, and then Sasha's choice. So the first 4 chapters is going to be the story of Sasha, and then the second 4 chapters were about this knight, and they basically bring it to like what their problem is, and then they become Christian afterwards. So I'm kind of very, very much summing it up, but it will go through that chapters. Think about it. Ask questions. What's in a name? Words you need to know. And then it will talk. It brings in brings in pop culture, but not in like a negative way. Like, for example, this is talking about like Superman and things like that. So it's all relating it back to the Bible, obviously. And then they have little things like the girl in the mirror. Is God eternal? God is eternal. God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. God is so it's doing all of that. It's explaining it. You're an image bearer. And then at the end of every chapter is a worldview and focus. Meet Amira. So she's Muslim, I believe, and she lives in England. Yes, she's Muslim. And so what I like about this is it shows kids from around the world, different cultures, different religions. Some are atheist, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, but it doesn't say like this is why they're bad or this is why they're good or anything like that. It just literally gives an example of like what their day looks like, what they believe, and it leaves it up to you to discuss. What I really like it, like how is the way she lives different from you and how is it similar? So these alone have been really great for us to have lots and lots of conversations, and it just exposes them to different religions and different ways of thinking and different cultures and things like that. And then you can compare it to your faith. And then at the end, it's going to the house of truth. It's going to build on a foundation, the foundation of God and his word. And that's how you build your house of faith. And then, so good. I really, really liked this. We won't be continuing it though. There's a volume 3 and a volume 4. My girls were like, what? They were really disappointed. So maybe I will in the future, but for now we're not. It has like the volume 3 is like, who is my neighbor? And volume 4 is, what on earth can I do? So it's about, the world. And so I don't know. I might get back to it just because they were really disappointed when I said we weren't going back to it. So there was no rhyme or reason. The Bible we chose, I just was not going to have time for the Bible that I chose for next year. So I wasn't going to have time to do it all. So that was our Bible in poetry. And then we alternated between like a feelings book and habit training book. So this one we did from American Girl. This is the care and keeping of your emotions. I was recommended that if you do this book, do the older versions, like not the newer ones. Like these are like from the early 2000s, and these are not Christian or biblical. So I would just add that. I would add those aspects to it. So we finished with this one. We're working on this one right now, and we are finishing it up. But again, I don't know if it's anything earth-shattering, but it's just good to have these conversations going. Dear God, a real friend is someone who takes time to listen to you. We actually have not read this one yet. I don't know. It's in my repertoire, but it's not here. We have not read it yet. We will read this one though. God cares how I feel. This is from the Daily Grace Co. This is just like a board book. And again, this is for younger kids, but I try to have a variety of things. What to do when you worry too much, a kid's guide to overcoming anxiety. We bought this used, so my kids did not write in this. Someone else wrote in this, but this was pretty good too. Created with emotions. I don't think any of this was earth-shattering, but again, maybe it's just because it's for kids, so I can't compare it to like an adult version of something that I would be reading. I did like this one. This is again from the Daily Grace Co. too. This is created with emotions. I liked this one. I did like that one. And then lastly is Laying Down the Rails for Children, a Habit Training Companion. Okay, so there's book 1 and 2. We have habits like cleanliness and kindness and courteous, mental habits, and then book 2 is moral habits, physical habits, and religious habits. So I'll just kind of flip through. Let's take an example here. Courage. Parent prep. I really never did this. I just kind of open and read what lesson I thought we should read. Very, very much planning on my end. So read and discuss the definition of courage. They always have a start of that. Share with your children what the goals are. We're going to practice this for the next couple weeks. Read in the biblical principles found in, they give you Bible verses to talk about it. And then lesson 2 would be discuss how courage allows people to respectfully stand up for themselves. And then you would read The Young Scout, okay? And then lesson 3, discuss how bravery means doing your duty even though you feel afraid. And then here's something else to read. And then lesson 4, sometimes obeying God requires courage. Consider what is most important to God, to please God or fellow man. Read Jeremiah 26. Lesson 5, you would read this. And then this one is read and discuss the quotation below. So it would be, you would read that aloud, and most of the time my kids were just looking at me with blank stares like, what are you talking about? So I would kind of, it leaves it up to your discretion to like interpret it how you would see fit. And then lesson 7, there's not usually this many stories in the lesson. This one has a lot of stories. A lot of them are like this. Courage is contagious, when blah, blah, blah. So read and talk about this one. Yeah, a lot of them are quotes that you just kind of, it's up to you, like I said, to leave up to your interpretation. It talks about King John and the Magna Carta. Discuss the quotation below and read and discuss the story. This one's a little bit longer. So there's usually, I think there's 12 lessons in every single one of these. So it's not that I disliked it. I don't know what exactly I'm looking for. I've mentioned this before, so we're not going to continue this. I might do the character concepts book. I've seen a lot of people talk about that one and recommend that one. I don't have it yet, but I'm still looking into it. So again, there's nothing bad in this. It does refer back to the Bible, and it does use scripture and things like that. And it does use moral stories. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. I don't know. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, guys, so if you are still here, thank you so much for watching to the end. I appreciate it. If there's any questions or clarification or anything like that, please let me know. And I, again, will link a couple of those videos below so that you can get a clearer picture if you want to look further into the science and the history and things like that. If you want to see more homeschool style content, you can just click the subscribe button so that way you don't miss out on anything. And there's also like a notification bell. It'll just tell you whenever I post a new video. As always, thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me that you show up and watching my videos. It means so, so much to me. So thanks again. I hope you have a good day and enjoy your summer. Have a good one. Bye, guys.